hypocrites, people who say they believe, but they don't.
Okay, I am sharing it with the public. Okay. Do you see it right now?
Well, I see you basically,
No,
but I don't see the text.
we
Okay.
don't.
Okay. Right now we are
Yeah.
in broadcasting, streamlining. Okay, we are here.
Yeah.
Can you make the font a little bit larger if possible? But if not, not
Yeah,
too
that's
much.
fine.
Back a little bit. Go back a bit. Oh, that's it.
Fine.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
back again.
Bigger?
Yeah, one bigger, but only one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. That's great. Because then the sidebar is not blocking the text. So
Do you see the text?
Yeah, I see the text.
Okay.
So which verse? Somebody said verse 8?
2:8.
So I don't know. Do you want me to start there then, Brother Edip?
Yeah, please.
Okay. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Among the people are those who say, we affirm God and the last day, but they do not affirm. They seek to deceive God and the affirmers, but they only deceive themselves without noticing. In their hearts is a disease, so God increases their disease, and they will have a painful retribution for what they have denied. If they are told, do not make evil in the land, they say, but we are the reformers. No, they are the evildoers, but they do not perceive. If they are told, affirm as the people have affirmed, they say, shall we affirm as the fools have affirmed? No, they are the fools, but they do not know. If they come across the affirmers, they say, we affirm, and when they are alone with their devils, they say, we are with you, we were only mocking. God mocks them and leaves them prolonged in their transgression. These are those who have exchanged guidance for straying. Their trade did not profit them, nor were they guided. Their example is like one who lights a fire. So when it illuminates what is around him, God takes away his light and leaves him in the darkness, not seeing. Deaf, dumb, and blind, they will not revert. Or like a storm from the sky, in it are darkness, thunder, and lightning. They place their fingers in their ears from stunning noises out of fear of death. And God is aware of the ingrates. The lightning nearly snatches away their sight. Whenever it lights the path, they walk in it. And when it becomes dark for them, they stand. Had God willed, he would have taken away their hearing and their sight. God is capable of all things. O people, serve your Lord who has created you and those before you, that you may be conscientious. The one who made the land a habitat and the sky a structure, and he sent down from the sky water with which he brought out fruit as a provision for you. So do not make any equals with God while you now know.
Okay. Let's stop here. Here is a question for you guys. The first affirmers, we translated as affirm. We discussed this extensively with Leslie. The word iman means affirming. affirmation. Mu'min, the one who affirms the truth, accept the truth. And therefore, I thought it is better translation than believe. Believe because in language, it means you believe without any reason. You close your eyes, you believe whatever is told you as holy, you accept it without questioning. But Iman also shares the same root with amana. Amin means the one who trusted. There must be a certain proof for it. And in the Quranic epistemology, we see that do not follow anything blindly, correct? You are responsible of what you are following. You must have proof and evidence. Now here, affirmers mentioned, and they are described. And then hypocrites, correct? There are three groups: affirmers, hypocrites, and the rejectors or mushriks. And the question is, there is an example of lightning and storm. What do you think these metaphors are given, or this example of light and darkness? What is it?
I think one possible understanding of the metaphor is that they do see glimpses of the truth, and however, but they're not consistent with it because this is covered by the darkness in themselves, because they don't affirm consistently, because they are trying to compromise with both sides. And I think it also relates to the fact that they see themselves as making peace everywhere. But God says that they are the mischief makers. They say, Nahnu muslihun. So we are just trying to, smooth things over. You can't smooth things over between truth and falsehood. So in their attempt to do this, they succeed in neither and actually cause more mischief because of their pretense.
Yeah, exactly. When you discuss with hypocrites, of course, they don't consider themselves hypocrites. Hypocrisy is a certain conflicting personality. And there are certain things, they go between this and that. They are not sure about the things. They don't have very clear methodology and then clear ideas. And therefore, they are complex. And once you see, look like a believer, and then you see a moment gone. There is no consistency, a beautiful word that you used. At Oxford University, my first conference, I had 3 conferences. First conference was very limited one. It was about 20, 30 people participated. It was professors and also graduate students. And before the conference, I put together a test, 45 questions, multiple choice questions. I call it theometer. Do you hear me? Theometer. And then those questions, I basically try to contrast the Quran, the message of the Quran, with the message and practice of Sunni religions and Shiite religions. Basically, what I saw you in the beginning, a table comparing Quran to Hadith and Sunnah. That was the purpose. But at the beginning, I said, please write your name and the last name, and then I gave them choices. Which one of these describe your religious convictions or ideas? One is Quran alone, the other is the Hadith and Hanafi, Shafi, Maliki, and all these, and Shia, and empty space for anyone who is not belonging that. Therefore, I distributed to them, and then I collected them. The way I put the questions, I designed the questions, I made it very easy to evaluate, to score them. I put the right answer according to the Quran in the last options. D, A, B, C, D, the D one. And therefore, I knew that if they pick, let's say, Hanafi or Shiite or any sect besides Muslim or besides Quran alone, they will have problem with that. That one will not be their choice. I put their choices A, B, C in A, B, C. D would be the contradicting one. And therefore, I would just look at it. Let's say he says, I am Hanafi, and see how many lost choices he picked. And I would count them in just a few seconds. And then I see, let's say 27 of them, he picked D. And then I called the name of the person. I said, according to your own religion that you think that you are adhering to, according to your own religion, 27 times you are out of your religion. And in most of the cases, you are doomed. You are basically convicted to be killed because you become murtad. Anyway, very interestingly, according to that test, none of those who picked, besides the Quran, any other source, none of those who did not follow the Quran, they did not survive their own religion. And I said, and then here it is, I'm coming to this relation. One of them, they lost. They were very in deep trouble with themselves. And one of them tried to bargain with me, to negotiate. He says, what about just one hadith? Accept one hadith. Let's accept one hadith. He was giving up from thousands of hadiths, but he wanted to really bring one more hadith. I said, doesn't matter whether 1,000 idols or one extra idols are idols. Whether one drop of urine or 10 drops of urine, it is the same. We don't need to mix it. It doesn't matter. It is falsehood. But unfortunately, they noticed for a while the problem that according to their own confessed religion, they would be killed many times because they didn't believe what their religion wanted them to believe. According to their religion, they're more murtad. They wouldn't survive their religion, but still they didn't want to give up. They wanted to go back to the darkness. For a moment, they were enlightened. Oh, let me go back. Leslie, cut me. If I talk too much, I talk too much, unfortunately.
No. I mean, you.
Go ahead.
Right,
if you want to continue, please feel free. 23.
Or do you want to share this reading privilege or responsibility with the other chaps? Maybe they would like to read a little bit too.
Yes, however you want. However, Carl, you want to continue?
Gentlemen, any one of you would like to read the next section, please?
Tanvir?
I don't mind, although Leslie
I'll
was
go
doing an
ahead.
excellent job.
Yeah,
okay.
He was. But I'll read a little bit if you want.
Go ahead, a little bit louder.
If you are in doubt as to what we have sent down to our servant, then bring a chapter like this and call upon your witnesses other than God, if you are truthful. If you cannot do this, and you will not be able to do this, then beware of the fire whose fuel is people and stones. It has been prepared for the ingrates. Give good news to those who affirm and promote reforms, that they will have gardens with rivers flowing beneath. Every time they receive of it fruits, they say, in what is what we have been provisioned. Okay. Oh, this is what we have been provisioned before, and they are given its likeness, allegories. Moreover, they will have pure spouses, and there they will abide. Should I continue or should we
No,
say
if you want to
something
stop there, yeah. The 23, what is about 23?
I think this is a very powerful challenge to the hypocrites who entertain some doubts about God's message, because otherwise they would not consider compromising with falsehood. So this powerful challenge is that if you think even for a moment that this is, coming from Muhammad personally or some other source, then bring something like it. Gather all of your friends and the whole of humanity, if need be, but bring anything like it. And that should be a very powerful and clear answer that can, should lead you to understand that this can be of no other than divine origin.
Okay. Now, here it is. I am challenging you and everyone to bring a book like this. This is my life story. And then I say, this is divine. And I wrote, this is based on inspiration I wrote, this life story, or maybe another book, not life story. One of my books, I say, bring something like that. And what does that mean? How can it be proof for the divine source of any book that has such a claim?
I think, it's not just the number of words or, the contents of a book. It's what declaration this book is making. The laws or the standard this book is giving, they are something that you should be able to verify by following this. If it says this path will lead to destruction, then it's something you should be able to experience in your lifetime in front of you, whether following this leads to success or destruction. And I think so. This is where
I don't understand. It is a kind of circular argument. If you say you cannot bring that book, this book is great, and the denier of that will say, no, this book is not great. I don't like many of the verses in it, statements in it. I don't like certain laws in it. Therefore, well, you cannot bring like it. Why? Because I am the judge, and I think your book doesn't contain the laws that I like, or the culture I like, or the belief system I like. Therefore, you already made your choice, your decision about what kind of things the person needs to bring to make you happy. You are the judge yourself, but it is not really a objective challenge. The challenge is meaningless. Anyone can claim a challenge that their book is the best. Let's get the Moon, Reverend Moon. This guy was the cult leader. He has a book. What's the name of the principle? Criteria. What was the name of the book? You remember? And very interesting book. He could claim the same thing.
This is why I'm saying that this isn't a question of how beautiful the book sounds. This book is full of practical guidance, verifiable in this life, because the claim is that this will lead you to success in this life. This isn't just a salvation recipe. So if following this book does not lead to success, then you can put it to one side and say it's not divine.
Well, people outsider, and let me play devil's advocate. I say, well, in fact, people follow this book. They are backward people. They killed people. They kind of deprived women from their human rights. And in fact, this book is not really very good. And they will find a problem with some of the verses. And therefore, what will you say? Therefore, if the content of the book is your argument for the very book you are trying to defend, it's a circular argument. And also, it doesn't make a divine book. There are many good books with great moral advices, with guidance, incredible philosophical books on ethics. You love it. Oh my gosh. In fact, you don't see hell and war and stuff. That's something really bloody, and you don't have problem with that. And there are many great books out there people enjoy reading.
There are undoubtedly very many great books, but there is no one book that casts light on every aspect of life, from practical, in every, or whether it's economic, whether it's personal, social, everything. There is no one book of philosophy that covers all these subjects.
No, Aristotle wrote on many issues, perhaps more diverse than anyone else. Aristotle wrote on epistemology, on metaphysics, on law, on politics, on aesthetics, on reason, logic, goodness sake, all of them put in one book.
And I don't know any one society that has brought a system into place based on Aristotle and shown that to be a successful system. Whereas this book actually did produce this. I mean, we're not going by what the present Muslims are doing.
Leslie, what are you saying? I think Tanvir Bhat is in the mud. He's doing the spin in the wheel in the same mud. He's not able to get out of that. Very weak, Tanvir. You are very weak, my brother.
Thank you.
This kind of argument, this book, if God's book, should have much, much stronger, clearer argument for its divine source. You are very weak. This book is not that weak. This powerful book. Yes, Leslie.
Yeah, if I may touch on what I said earlier in a clubhouse room, we touched on the same question, and I shared with the people in the room as what I'm sharing with you now, is that when the people come to me and ask me, how do you know that the Quran is from Allah? I tell them that for me, as someone who has studied in the Western educational system, and was privileged, so to speak, to get exposure to the so-called best that of the West, or the best that the West could offer in philosophy and literature and what have you. And then when I came to the Quran, and when I compare what I read in these sources, I find that the Quran is simply not comparable to anything else that I have ever come across before. It is a comprehensive document in that it covers, as Brother Tanvir said, every aspect of existence. It pretty much answers every question. It answers questions about this life and also about the hereafter. The problem with Aristotle, and don't get me wrong, I am actually, I find Aristotle to be a very thorough, disciplined thinker, and his politics and his ethics are, as I commented to a friend of mine once, every sentence seems to be a jewel. It is so well structured, but he does not tell us anything about what happens after we die. Although I have not read his book on metaphysics, I have to admit, so maybe I have some catching up to do there. But the other thing I would mention is that what makes the Quran so special, another way to put it, is its perfection, its inimitability, its flawless character. And compare that, for example, to the Hadith. I remember the day when I stopped reading the Hadith, when the difference between the Hadith and the Quran really became very great. And I stopped reading Bukhari the day I came across the Hadith where the Prophet allegedly said that he wanted to burn down somebody's house because he could see that this person, even though he was a Muslim, was not getting ready to go to the congregational prayer. Now, right there, you see a huge difference between a quality book like the Quran and something problematic like Bukhari. And you yourself, Brother Edip, have highlighted many cases of very, very problematic hadiths, like the hadith which says that the Prophet gouged out someone's eyes with burning irons, or that somebody saw some monkey stoning another monkey for adultery, or the hadith according to which the Prophet had the prowess of 30 men, or another hadith according to which drinking camel urine is good for our health. So all these hadiths, the content of these hadiths really discredit basically everything else really that comes with it. Although I don't take the position that we should throw all the hadiths into the rubbish bin, I have come to believe that the hadith cannot be accepted as a basis of legislation or law. That's one thing. It cannot be accepted as wahi or revelation because it is not that. And it cannot be accepted as an equal or even a superior to the Quran. At best, what we can use the hadith for is to, and I know you have a different opinion here, Brother Edip, on this, but I think there may be some hikmah to be had. Let me give you one example. The hadith according to which the Prophet said that he prohibited writing of the hadith, right? I consider that to be a true hadith, but I don't consider it to be revelation, and I don't consider it to be part of Islamic law, because Allah Ta'ala has already prohibited adding to revelation in Surah 69, verses 44 to 47. So the hadith, even though it is true, it is not telling us anything new. So I think what we need to do is we need to revise the Sharia and free it from the death penalties, for example, for apostasy, adultery, and blasphemy, because they all come from man-made narrations. And when the ulama have allowed these death penalties to become part of the Sharia, they have fallen into what I call juristic shirk, because they allowed the words of human beings to overrule the words of God. Now, this was a terrible tragedy and shows a very serious breakdown in Islamic jurisprudence. And I might add also exegesis. But I guess I should come and let my point. So basically, my perception is that it is the Quran's beauty, inimitability, and perfection that convince, and the content, of course, also, that convinces me that it is indeed a book from Allah Ta'ala and not from a human being. Thank you.
Yeah, well, everyone, I think, could have their personal reasons, the way they see the things. But I think there is also objective, much more universal reason for why the Quran is challenging. I think these kind of things is difficult to standardize, to enumerate, to quantify, to make it an objective standard. When you challenge someone, bring something similar to that one, what do you mean? Mean something the same dimension, something the same structure, the same design, or the same functionality? In what area, what kind of qualities you think is not inimitable, cannot be imitated? And you say you cannot bring a book, and someone say, yeah, I brought a book. Well, you cannot bring a book that is poetic. Well, I brought a book, here is the great poetry. I think this is the most delicious poetry in the world. This is better than this one. You see, it is subjective. Bring me a book that has the laws which is good. Well, to me, it is not good. To me, these laws are better. Here is the book. Therefore, all becomes a matter of your prejudice or acceptance, your personal decision. I understand. I can respect that. A person can claim such a thing. However, I do think the Quran is talking about something much different. And I think it is about, let me find that, where is it? I'm losing the page. Did I close it or, oh, here it is open here. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me open the page here. Hold on 1 second. Okay, here. If you are in doubt as to what we have sent down to our servant, then bring a chapter like this and call upon your witnesses other than God if you are truthful. And I think this is about the prophetic nature of the Quran. One, I think the prophecies cannot be imitated. Prophecy is beyond human, is extraordinary. And I think that certain prophecies of the Quran that time, during the time of Prophet Muhammad, was appreciated more than now. I think most of it is forgotten because those people, they lived in synchrony with the Quran. And Do you see flickering of the? Okay, you don't see on your side. Okay, mine is the computer is somewhat flickering the screen. I have old computer I need to change, and the challenge of the Quran is one. I think partially we entirely maybe forgotten some of the miracles of the Quran, extraordinary aspect of the Quran that was witnessed during time of Prophet Muhammad is forgotten or got lost. For example, when a verse comes, they were able to read in between the lines. They could understand from the words. Right now, we don't understand the implication of that word in their life. Therefore, it had much bigger impact on them in terms of prophetic nature, insight, vision of the Quran regarding their own lives, events, and stuff. Therefore, most of it is lost. They were the one witnessing. And I do think one is that the prophetic nature of the Quran and the language of the Quran in 19 Questions for Atheists in the Turkish version. The English version is truncated, half of it, 10 questions for atheists. But in the Turkish version, 19 soru, ateistlere 19 soru, 19 questions for atheists. I have several chapters allocated to the language of the Quran. I argue that it is extraordinary prophetic nature of the language. And I haven't translated, but I don't want to go over that. But I think another one for our time, following verse 2:106, that God gives promise, if any miracle, any evidence is lost or forgotten, God is going to bring similar or better one. And I think this is right now in our time is referring to the mathematical code of the Quran, which is just in the beginning of the chapter. A portion of the code involves the numerical combinations, letter and number combinations in the beginning of 29 chapters. Therefore, I think mathematics provides an extraordinary evidence that this book cannot be imitated. No book in the world has similar features, and I challenge everyone, you cannot bring a book that integrate such in a complex level the language which is arbitrary, human language, and mathematics which is universal and defined, which is the language of the nature, God's creation. In fact, mathematics is the language of ayat, of God in nature. Because God uses the word ayat, means signs, for the God's laws and the creation in the nature. And therefore the language of the nature, cosmos, is mathematics. And the language of the ayat in this book, in the Quran too, is mathematics. And therefore I think that's the challenge, and this challenge still stands. And there were few attempts try to imitate it. In fact, in my book, 19, God's signature in nature and scripture, and also in Running Like Zebras, I refuted that claim is very, very, very, very far from being even close. And there was someone tried to write some Arabic language with some code in it, the number of things. It was such a silly example that you cannot even compare it, but still is waiting. Yes.
So, Brother Edip, I have a comment to make on that. Whilst there may be mathematical things which that you become aware of in the past, few decades, for the Quran to present this challenge of, the book and it being from divine source at 1400 years ago, those people would not have had access to all these complicated mathematical formulations. So it would make no sense to allude to something that they cannot experience or understand at that time. So I think, the reality is much more straightforward. And the two verses preceding the challenge are plain enough. It is enjoining all human beings to serve God who created them. So first of all, it's saying, think about where you came from, who created you, and who created the sky above you, who sent the rain, who's made the fruits in abundance that you eat from. In other words, everything that you need for life has been created from the Creator. And this is the same Creator who's sending you this book. That's the I believe the evidence that the Quran is saying that just like you cannot imitate nature, you cannot create rain, you cannot create earth, you cannot create clouds, none of those things. These are coming from a divine source, the same divine source that is giving you this book. And if you don't believe
well, this is an assertion. Imagine
it is an assertion, but it's also a challenge.
This is only assertion. You are making assertion. You say this is similar to the nature. How is similar?
No, it's saying that
much?
God who created nature and these things, if you think there is another equivalent power, then bring that power forward who can also create rain and create similar conditions and create life like God has done.
Non sequitur. My brother, this logic doesn't. Anyone who makes up a book attribute to God, let's say Al-Burhan, Al-Bayan, this Baha'is book, it talks about God, about many good things, and they say this is divine. And they say, I'm guided by this and I follow this, it made me a good person and stuff. Book of Mormons, read it. Bhagavad Gita, they say the same thing, and people make up things. St. Paul's letters, so much impactful on people's life, and they all say the same thing. Therefore, by this kind of assertions, or you say this looks like this, how this Quran is like a diamond, bring like this. No, you say it like diamond, it is not. Prove to me, what is it? Therefore, when you make this kind of haughty claim, it is just self assertions because you believe that you say it. You don't provide any reason in what sense it is beyond human capacity to bring a book like that.
I've already made that claim. The book is giving you a system, a complete comprehensive system that answers all the questions of life and gives you a successful
It is
system.
not. Sunnis say it doesn't tell me how to go to restroom, how to clean my buttock.
You're talking about, you're talking about a degenerate population of Muslims of today who are not following this book anyway. So that's not a good result to point to. This book, when it was followed, produced excellent results in the time of the Prophet, within his lifetime, within 23 years.
Tanvir, my brother, here it is. Here is a test for you. If this is a claim, I suggest you to make it a test. Here it is. You could say to an opponent, tell me what you think would be a comprehensive book without looking at the Quran. Write down what you need in it and write it down, and it will be in it. That time I understand. Okay, you cannot bring something. You see, you come 1400 years later, you expect in a book comprehensive, the definition of comprehensive. The definition of comprehensive is ambiguous. It is circular. You say whatever it is in the Quran is comprehensive, whatever out of the Quran it is not needed. You already made a premise without proving that premise. You didn't.
Well, I'm not calling it comprehensive because I feel so. I am saying that it gives you guidance on every aspect of life that a human can think of. Where did the sky come from? Where did I come from? What is the purpose of this life? Where will I go after this? There is no other book. There is no book in the world.
What do you say? There's no other book. Did you study millions of books on the world?
I've studied most of the major religions and philosophical texts. None of them answer all these questions. And more importantly, they don't give you a practical system of life. This book does.
There are many books gives, for example, Constitution of the World written by humans. And let's say the United Nations, many human rights Declaration of Human Rights. There
And
are a
how
lot of this
successful
stuff.
are those? We've
Huh?
seen the result of that. The world is riddled
We
with
see
war.
the result of the Quran. Here it is. You are people after Muhammad. They chopped each other. They they drank each other's blood.
That's the important thing. You're talking about people after Muhammad. When Muhammad
well,
the
people listen carefully. The people who oppose the Quran, they will say even Muhammad killed people, and the people around him, they were slave owners, and there's so many things they can say. They
can say what
therefore,
they like. You have to verify it.
It is again about every person, but you can get Buddha or Jesus' life is much better life. You can bring it if you look at the history. Therefore, honestly, these are very, how do you say, contentious. It's just arguments on your behalf. You are making every religious people, they can come up exactly the same assertions about their heroes, about their books. Nothing new, nothing extraordinary, nothing unique, simple, vicious arguments. But as far as for mathematical code of the Quran, you don't know, my brother, you don't know exactly during time of Prophet Muhammad, those people, how they were impressed by the Quran. You don't have the same language skills, the Arabic skills that they have, the understanding. And second, you didn't live synchronously with the verses revealing and also some of the things exposing in the society. You didn't live that. You didn't live some of the other things maybe. You were not immersed in that culture. But God knows that you are deprived of that, what they had, advantages they had to appreciate some of the things in the Quran. Now you don't have them. And God sends you something that you can appreciate, that you use the computers, you are better, you count the money better, you are familiar with sciences. Quran sent you a mathematical miracle of the Quran. Miracle, I say, is extraordinary structure of the Quran for you, because God did not send everything to that generation and the Quran is just stuck there for those people. No, Quran beyond time, if it is God's word, it should have evidence for every generation that they appreciate. For example, when God sent messenger with extraordinary evidences, which should be, because they are making the biggest claim possible in the world. They say, I am God, the creator of the universe, send me as a messenger. Who are you? You're just kids with us. We're playing together. You eat like us. You sleep all your lights. You smell like us. What are you doing? Hey, my friend, what are you gone crazy? Oh, this book I have, it is God's word. Well, it is like our language. It's no different than our language, saying the things, banal things. Some things doesn't make sense. Stories, mythologies, and all Cinderella stories in the book. What are you? Are you going crazy? Therefore, a messenger must bring extraordinary evidence for why they are messenger, why this is from God. And now God has sent it to you, and you are ignoring it. Unbelievable. You say, no, since the previous generation, 1400 years ago, they didn't have this one, I should not have it. That is, I think, not only arrogance, I think it is really ingrate, to be ingrate. And I think myself, I'm thirsty in desert, my brother. I'm thirsty in desert and hungry for several days. And we are looking for feast. And then from the sky with a parachute, something comes down. And then we see, my God, it is in the package, hold the most delicious fresh food and fruits and everything in it. And then there is also drink. And then I look at it, it doesn't smell bad, and try it, and tastes good, and then drink it, I feel good. And then I tell you, come on, taste it. Well, you are basically thirsty like now. You don't have power and energy. And then you say, well, Edip, 100 years ago, cowboys passed here. They were also thirsty and hungry. Did they have this feast for them? If they didn't have it, then I don't have it. And I would say, go die in the desert. You deserve it. And exactly like that. This is a feast for our generation, God sent. Forget about them. God will deal them with mercy, with forgiveness. If God didn't give them enough evidence, God will not hold them responsible. But God gave them something in their time. You are not with them. You didn't get what they got. But you say, well, I will not have this feast. You don't even try it. You don't even come close to it. That's your problem. You say, no, we don't need. God will not send me food and drink in this desert because I don't think that 100 years ago there was parachute, there was aeroplane dropping, something like that. God maybe sent them through other means, but for you, he used the parachute. Therefore, I think this is a bad excuse for not even considering the mathematical code of the Quran.
I am not dismissing the mathematical code
okay,
that you're
mashallah.
referring to. I'm not dismissing it for a minute. All I'm saying is the truth of the Quran is self-evident. One of the arguments throughout the Quran is the people were asking Muhammad for miracles. They say, make the fountain happen, make this happen, make that happen. And the Quran denies them miracles because the words of the Quran themselves are the miracle. Because this is a truth which is self-evident.
Misunderstanding, Tanvir, very misunderstanding. What they wanted, they were blind followers of their parents' religion. Throughout the Quran, mushriks, when they oppose messengers, prophets, they say, we haven't seen, you come up with new stuff. We follow what our great parents followed. They have saints and prophets in their things. They have kind of distorted religion. Therefore, what they expect from every messenger, if you are really prophet and messenger, you must bring the same miracle of our idolized messenger prophet. We have idol, they have this miracle, bring exactly the same one. But this is dictating to God in a way that dogmatic way, their ignorance and dogmatisms, they are bigots. They want to dictate God their bigotry. God, you have to bring exactly what we glorify. If you don't bring, we don't accept. This is the test. Well, if you're an open mind, if you seek the truth, you will be open for any evidence. You will not dictate the evidence. You say, bring me an extraordinary evidence, but they didn't. They say, bring this from the sky, for example, treasures. And maybe the people of the Salih, they were giving camel as an example, correct? But they didn't like it, perhaps. They each wanted the previous one. But the Quran, always there is diversity. Diversity in communities, they have diverse problems, and there is diverse miracles depending on their need. God decides that one. Therefore, when they asked from Muhammad to produce miracles like Moses, like Jesus shown, nope. God will not follow your whims. God will test you with a new miracle, which is the book very itself is miracle. How a book can be miracle? If it is extraordinary. How can it be extraordinary? Mathematical miracle. Is mathematical code in the book. That is making the book extraordinary. And the law in the book, if you are claiming it's extraordinary, the rules, the laws, the things, I think there is no really standard for that, any objective scientific standard. In order something to be scientific claim, it must be verifiable and falsifiable. I say to you, is there any way I falsify your claim that this book doesn't have any similar book? Is there any way that I can bring a similar book that you will say, yeah, it is similar? Then you have to give me what should be. Oh, there must be many, many stories in it. Okay, here is a book. You will find many stories. It must talk about many subjects. There are many books, like Farmer's Almanac has much more topics than in the Quran. Here it is, Farmer's Almanac. It is from God because there are so many information in it, correct? I don't understand. Or about laws. Here it is. Declaration of Human Rights. Beautiful. What do you want? What is your claim? Verifiable and falsifiable. Anyway, I made it too longer, but this is, I think, a major issue. While God, 29 chapters, but these chapters start with Alif Lam Mim. The meaning of that is three meanings so far we know, correct? And two meanings is related to mathematics. The other meaning is related to a prophecy.
In the people, it seems like the people in Muhammad's times, the very witnesses that, you know, he may have been in a trance or something when he's delivering the message, because people are around him to hear it, and he was able to tell them where, in what order it went. So just to make something up and be able to organize things in different places, it seems like that would have been quite a miracle to the people that were witnessing it or involved in helping to write it down on whatever.
Yeah. Should we stop here? Maybe next week we go Tanvir. Next week, would you like to continue from creation?
Yes,
Sure.
I'm happy to.
Inshallah. Leslie, do you have something to share with us? I know you didn't talk, you are quiet.
Not at the moment. I think I said what I had to say, but it's an interesting discussion. Let's carry on next week, inshallah.
Okay. Inshallah. Linda is not talking at all. Linda this week is quiet. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll be starting with 2:26 next time.
Okay.
Unless you want to go back
okay.
and continue.
Yeah, keep the record, please. Let's go. We should be going faster, but some of the verses in the beginning you may discuss more extensively, but later those discussions will not repeat, most likely the same length.
Okay.
God bless you. Thank you very much for coming over. And Tanvir, your appreciation, personal appreciation of the Quran, absolutely, I respect it. I have no problem. But in order to invite a skeptic, another person outside, it needed to be a really verifiable and falsifiable evidence in order to be a have invitation and argument for other people to come. For example, let's say last night you saw a dream. You know it 100%. You are a sincere person. You tell me I saw this dream. And okay, but you say to a person, believe in it. If someone doesn't trust you as a person, correct? You cannot prove, you don't provide verifiable and falsifiable evidence. There is no way that I can falsify that you didn't see that dream, logically, because it is in the past, personal. But if a person trusts you, maybe believe in you, then because of you, believe in your dream. When Prophet Muhammad alive is someone, no prophet, but for us, it is a distant person. Oh, he was a very trustworthy, great guy. Well, who is saying? Other people. In fact, the one who's saying is great, he was a good guy. Many of them are bad guys. Therefore, it is not really a way to extraordinary evidence to prove that this is word of God. And I think the Quran is independent of Muhammad's person, the evidence, independent of the language. The language is very subjective, could be, but prophecy is extraordinary, and also mathematical structure. And Carl Sagan in his book, The Contact, in fact, makes an argument. It's a fiction, but he has an alter ego there, a scientist, an agnostic scientist, says if there is God, it wants to communicate us a message, the best way, the most proven way to send us a message that proves that it is authenticated by God, it is from God, it should have embedded secret code in it. The message must be coded with mathematics.
Can I ask you, Brother Edip, can I ask you, did Carl Sagan accept Quran as the word of God then?
No, I had discussion with him. I had 2-round debate with him in 1990s when I was writing my honor thesis for philosophy. I started with this one, but we had a very good argument. I think his counter-arguments, his objections were all reasonable, very good. He didn't have a kind of dogmatic nonsense objections like many religious people do. He was very reasonable, and I appreciate that. I responded, and he came up with another set of arguments. I responded that one too. He came up with another counter argument, but at the end of his letter, he said, of course, I might be wrong, but we didn't have time to continue. It was about a 4 round of communication. But I really, among the people that I discuss this miracle, the opponents, the skeptics and the atheists or Christians and Sunnis, I found the most reasonable one, Carl Sagan, and all his objections, I would be doing the same if I didn't have enough information. His objections was based on lack of a lot of information, background information about the miracle. Therefore, there were valid objections, and I responded. But I'm saying this one again. The mathematical code of the Quran is not a small issue. It's a major issue. It is a prophecy of the Quran. In chapter 74, 19 is mentioned there. It was discovered in 1974, exactly the number and number of chapter, exactly 1974 lunar years after the revelation of the Quran. And the chapter starts with 19 letters statement, Ya ayyuhal muddathir qum fanzir, or the hidden one, come out and warn. And this hidden secret in that chapter came out and warned people in 1974, 19 times 74 years later. And the numerical value of these 19 letters is exactly 1974. This cannot be coincidence. This by itself is a major prophecy. And the name of the person who discovered this mentioned in the Quran in all derivatives exactly 19 times. And the most frequent one in chapter 72, if you read chapter 72, you will see by the end of the chapter 72, incredible prophecies that God will not reveal his secrets only through a messenger. And that messenger will be protected, his studies, and then he will prove that God has counted everything in numbers. That messenger will prove through this discovery of the secret and that God has counted everything. And therefore, that chapter, the word Rashada is mentioned the most frequent in chapter 72. When you read it, you see incredible prophetic statements. It is about our time. It happened that time too, and it is also happening exactly that time. There are many like this.
maybe you can allocate some time just to share with us your learning of this prophecy so that we are clearer exactly what you
Inshallah, open your heart discovered. Because God is capable to send us a extraordinary evidence to prove that this word of God. I have discussed this with many people, with atheists, top atheists, American atheist organization, the head and the head of Skeptic Foundation, and even top mathematician at Princeton University, John Conway. He died, but he's a legendary mathematician, and many others. They all
Brother Edip, has any of these mathematicians, because of the mathematical proof miracle that you presented to them, therefore accepted the Quran as the word of God?
There are some mathematicians in my book, 114 Letters to Edip Yuksel, but they are not very famous mathematicians. But there are, but famous mathematicians, for example, in the beginning of got this book. I sent a mail to mathematicians, about 40, 50 mathematicians who were interested in kind of the theology also. And most of them ignored it. I understand why they ignored, because it is paradigm issue. It is their focus on their own subject. They don't want to get involved with anything. And some of them has also prejudice against the Quran. When they hear the Quran, nothing. For example, and then few mathematicians responded, they were bigots. In fact, I quoted some of the mails. There cannot be like this. I said, did you study? No, I don't need to study. Bigot, he didn't even study. And let me give you one example. Mathematicians are humans like us. They have their own biases, they have own shortcomings, they have own limitations, and they have a culture paradigm. And I have encountered exactly the same thing. And for example, a Turkish mathematician is well known, Ali Nesin, and he in fact established a math village in Turkey. He has published many books, one of them on infinity. He has studied in the United States. And I went to his village, the in fact, with Linda. Hi, Linda. Linda Moore, with Linda and her husband, Chris Moore. Both of them. In fact, I have the YouTube video. We visited his village, math village, in Izmir, in Şirince. Anyway, and then I met him, and then I told him, I said, you know about this mathematical code of the Quran? Here is, I give you the book. And I said, if you write a critical of it, review of it, we would appreciate it. He's an atheist. And he said, I am very busy. Let me find the video. Hold on. 1 second. It's a good example. Okay, watch. Okay. Let me show you.
Sizin dediğinizi anlıyorum. Ben ahlak için dini gerekli bulmuyorum. Yani insanların.
This is Ali Nesin.
Aslında sen data that we give in it, and we know that this
because
at that time.
Chris and Linda
And
next to me, where are they?
Now, in that book, other chapters, prophetic description, what happened.
This is.
İstanbul.
I don't know. We don't see even Chris and Linda.
Gaze for based on evidence.
They were here. Somewhere, I think.
In that one, month in this book is mentioned.
Okay. I want to stop it here. In this conversation, I gave him the book. I said, please do it. He says, I'm very busy. I am raising funds for these village students, basically, over there. They are educated, which I am a very supporter of that village, math village. In fact, I asked people to give their donation to that one. But he says, well, I need to raise funds. I don't have time for it. I said, okay, no problem. I said, we raise funds. I said, I have friends who can pay as much as money needed for your time to spend on this. I said, this is a very controversial thing in Turkey. In fact, I had debated with the head of former religious affairs on TV for hours. He escaped from studio twice. And then I said, he got the book, but he was not willing. And then 2 years later, on TV, I see people share with me. He's invited on TV talking about the Quran and stuff. He says, well, I can make up a book like this, numerical book like this. Just someone give me some money so that I can spend time. I can do that. Liar. I did it already. I offered you. You didn't go alone. You could easily contact me anytime. But he came up with this lie. At the University of Arizona, I took the Hamim, the letter Hamim in the beginning of 7 chapters. It has an incredible pattern, numerical pattern. Not only they are multiple of 19, and also they have another, it looks like mathematical property, but it's not, very unique, incredible design feature there. Therefore, I wanted to get more insight about it. I took it to a math professor at the University of Arizona in number theory. It was just impromptu. I went there, I said, let me see a mathematician in number theory. They led me to an available professor there. Now, I could have asked him, I could have told him, well, this is in the Quran, we discovered this, and what do you think? I bet he would not look at it. But I didn't tell him it is from the Quran. I showed him those mathematical patterns in Hamim. And then he got very interested because he saw a very interesting sequence and pattern. And he couldn't understand, but it was very interesting. And then he gave up from his work and he started with pencil and paper, work on it about 20, 30 minutes. And he came up with a formula that satisfy all those 5 tables. And all of them follow that formula. And I put in this book, he discovered that formula there. And the number frequency of letters, ha and mim, not only in multiple of 19, they create a pattern, and also among themselves, an impressive pattern based on that formula. Now, if I told him this is from the Quran, I bet he wouldn't even give a second, because I had it at University of Columbia. I went to a mathematician and I said, I have this Quran mathematically very interesting book. His reaction was very negative. I don't want to hear it. I don't want it. What are you doing? I don't have time. Get out. He was angry. And therefore, but one day, there will be some celebrities will witness this one. And then you will see this mathematician and people will turn into it. Majority of people, including mathematicians, are herds. They follow whatever convention is. Mathematicians also follow in math conventions of mathematics. They are not angels. They are not very geniuses in other regards. Trust me. I know them. I have met them. They have also their own handicaps, their own prison. But if some celebrities one day you will see it, will witness this one, a majority of people will start talking this one, and you will see some mathematician start studying and witnessing. But that time will be a different time. Too long. Take care. Have a wonderful day.